But in July, I excitedly left that company, and I'm now in my own venture, private practice. And it's something that I want to get an increase in with my own practice because I really enjoyed presenting. So I've done a couple presentations from like old companies that I presented for that wanted me back and that kind of a thing. But I'm just looking for suggestions on how to expand, you know, making connections and kind of getting the word out there to help educate the community more.
One of the ways that I've done it in the past is when I've done a lot of traveling and speaking. So if I'm in an area where I've been invited to do a gig, I will check to see if there are other people or other organizations in the area that might like me to speak there too. So I kind of, you know, I'm going to be there anyway, rather than doing one presentation, I might do 4 or 5 in the area. So I either send them emails. I just say, you know, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be in the area. I see you do similar work to this other company or this other organization. And if these are some of the presentations I have to offer, and these are the days that I'm available. I'm going to be speaking on, you know, I've already got jobs. So they know that I'm a speaker, and they know that I'm busy, and then they really want to get in. And it's funny, I've had people that I didn't contact say, oh, do you have room for me too when you're here? So that's just one thought that came to mind. And even if you're talking about your, like a city, it's like, I'm going to be in the North Bay area on Tuesday, and I was just wondering, and I'm presenting for such and such a person or such and such an organization, and just want to know if you might want one around this time too. So just a thought. It worked well, I have to say.
I've done the same thing.
So Deborah, launch, I know you got tons of good stuff.
Well, I'm thinking as far as marketing for presentations. I mean, I have ideas for marketing, but so presentations is your area, Sally.
But we talk about that because what I'm doing, hooking up with you, I think it'd be really good for other people to hook up with somebody else that kind of does the things like sets up webinars and has a whole list of people that they're marketing to. So that's one thing. Find a Deborah, or if you're doing it yourself, I do social media, and so really heavy on social media. Speak to whoever wants me, pretty much. Some, you know, they always tell you to do free gigs, and you know, I went through that. I actually never felt like I got any gigs out of doing the free things, like, you know, the Rotary and those kinds of gigs. The more you get out there as far as a musician, if you're doing like summer events, anytime there's any kind of a festival, go do a mini, work with the kids or work with adults with music, and then do a little bit of talking about what you do. So it could be you're actually showing them what you do in a bigger way. Does that make sense?
Where do you, go ahead.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, and everything so far has been really helpful advice.
Okay. Those are the things that I've done, and I'm trying to think of what else I've done. Yeah.
What population are you working with or wanting to increase?
Right now, I am working primarily with kids and adolescents with developmental disabilities.
So that's another thing I've done in mental health is I spoke for it was an agency that worked with severe mental illness, and they had me come and talk to their the people that took care of them. So by talking to those, then they go, oh, well, you should get Sal. Then again, the word goes through the grapevine is always what you're trying to do. So if you can get one little, it's kind of like taking the plastic off of a piece of paper. You get one little corner, and then you can tear the rest of it off. So agencies of all different kind, even like, let's say, even like for if you're working with kids, hit up the PTA, parent-teacher associations. If you're working with really young kids, they've got TOTS, Moms for TOTS or something like that. In different organizations, again, are people that meet together. So I would look at every place that parents are gathered together. In fact, I did that back in, where was I? Ohio. I've lived in many different states. I can never remember where I was, though. Actually, I think it was Colorado. Anyway, they hired me to come in and work with their kids. And then as I was working with the kids, they were kind of fascinated. So now I'm talking to parents, and now I'm getting clients. Get yourself out there however you can. Demonstration, ask to go, see if the school wants you to come and teach the teachers some ways to use music in the classroom, or maybe just work with self-regulation. Does that make sense? Pick your favorite topics and go, these are the things that I can offer you. Let me come in and show you how you can use music for self-regulation in the classroom. Now you're there as a speaker, and you go to another school and another school, churches. Yeah.
Great. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. I think we're ready for another question.
She says, how do I best structure a presentation that's intended to start a program at a hospital?
So who are you giving the presentation for?
I am giving the presentation to spiritual care, the head of spiritual care, and quite possibly behavioral health as well, the acute ward. So it's really kind of an introductory sort of presentation. It's actually
and who's your audience? Who's your audience? Are they nurses, or are they caregivers, or?
It is actually the director of spiritual care. That is who I'm meeting with tomorrow. And
okay.
Then next time, probably a few people in the acute. So that's the only people I've been able to get in contact with. The other administrators and people as such have not gotten back to me, or have not been available, or been redirected back to spiritual care. So,
what's your favorite story that you have about working with the population that they'd be asking for?
Well, I think the best representation of my role in a hospital is my work with oncology and my internship. That was probably the most poignant experience. There's a long-term client who was there for about 4 months, and her experience between some level of response to treatment, and then some twists and turns. And I was actually doing some work around the Bonnie Method guide, music and imagery, so that level 1 training that I've had. And so I was able to use that as well as some songwriting, and then to do legacy work. And that, I think, speaks a great deal to how I function in the hospital, especially in right alongside with spiritual care. And
so, for instance, just with what you've told me so far, and the fact that you started with oncology, and taking a story that's like my experience with, I was, and you don't have to say the hospital or whatever, and just like as I worked with her, there was she would let go of pain or whatever. So what was wrong, and from your work, what were the gifts from what you were doing? What were the gifts that you were giving her through working with her? And you started kind of like, thank you so much for seeing me. Thank you so much for allowing me to talk to you. I'm passionate about this subject. I'm passionate about doing the work here because of stories like this. And the stories just, I have so many of them with the different populations I've worked with. But that's what motivates me to reach out for you right now, because I know I've got something that I can offer you that will help people through really difficult times. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then to share something.
Okay.
Especially if you're doing a one-on-one, you probably aren't going to, or even a one-on-two, you're not probably going to have them making music. But even if you did, I mean, let's say you tell the story, and and again, I'm starting out with, I'm so excited. I really want to. I have a passion for this. Speak from a place of passion.
Yeah.
And then if you're going to do some activity, do it with body percussion. Let me show you a little, you might say in the middle or at the end before you go, it's like, let me show you a little bit of what this feels like. So you guys ready? Let's get some energy in the body. It's like, let's just try like just a pat here, and then do some different rhythms. And then you can have one person, if you got a group of people there, will you have a group? Maybe not. You must.
Not at first. No, it's probably going to just be a couple.
The two of you. Let's play something together. I'm going to keep the beat, and you can. Will you keep the beat for me? And then you say, I'm going to move in and around the beat. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. And then you can switch it. But play that one carefully, because there are a lot of people that are terrified of being called out to do music. So kind of know who you're talking to if you're going to throw that in.
Okay.
Is this helpful?
Very. Thank you.
Excellent. You betcha.
Sometimes it's just getting those first words out. That's the hardest for me, because when I get going, it's like, then I can come from that place of authenticity and really get that all those good words, everything that I learned in my undergrad.
Exactly. It's all about passion, kiddo. It's all about passion. I love what I do. I want to do, I want to do more, and this is why.
Okay. Right.
Excellent. Okay.
All right. So the next person is Kathy. What have you found to be the most popular presentation?
Okay. Most popular presentation for me is I've spoken nationally on how to overcome public performance anxiety. And music teacher associations oftentimes have hired me to come and present at their conferences. I've also been hired, like I remember, it was here in California before I moved here. It was in LA, and they had a whole group of people that met at this person's house. And she found me because I spoke at the national conference, the music conference, not music therapy conference, but music conference in California. So it's really about, just getting out there. And the other thing I like to do is I say, if you know somebody that, when I'm speaking at the end, if you know somebody that would like this presentation, let me know. Or, let them know, let them know about me, or let me contact them. It's better if you have them give you the person and the name and the phone number, so you can call them, because sometimes they won't talk to them directly. Deborah, again, I'm not hearing you.
I can't read myself. She says, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, I've got some things that you let me know if you'd be interested in hearing some things around some other topics. And if I'm getting thumbs up, and Deborah, you can watch for this, then we'll talk a little bit about that. And if it's like, no, I don't want to know about that, thumbs down. Give me a thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you do when you finish the presentation and it's supposed to last an hour, right? And you're done in 15 minutes.
Good question.
Anybody have any thumbs up on that? Okay, so thumbs up. Okay, so one of the things I do is I move toward the audience. It's like, I'm curious as to what you're thinking about what I've said so far. The word curious is one I use a lot when I'm trying to really connect to the audience. I'm curious as as to what you're thinking right now about what I've said, what questions you might have. So that might stimulate something right there. Another thing I do is move into doing more activities or get them into small groups. So I finished it in 15 minutes and go, oh, it's time to do some, we're going to get together in small pods of 4 to 5 people, again, depending on the size. And those 4 and 5 people, I want you each to come up with maybe a really difficult question that you don't think I would know. Or, and you can make these up yourself. And it doesn't hurt to go into the presentation with an idea of what you might have them do in small group, as a small group interaction. Another question might be have them come up with how they would troubleshoot a difficult situation. If you're working with music therapists, that might be something you ask. Like, here's a situation. What would you do with that client in that situation? In your small group, come up with the best idea, and I'm going to have each group share it with the whole group, and you've got 15 minutes. So now you've got 15 minutes where they're talking in their group, and you've got at least 15 to 20 minutes where they're going to be presenting what they came up with. So you've got a whole half hour. Now you're down to, you've got a lot less time. Does that make sense?
Sounds good to me.
So has anybody thought about another question?
Looks like Victoria's in and out, trying to get sound or something.
Okay.
Anybody else? Kathy or Melissa? Hello?
Let's talk about another scenario. I'm hearing a voice.
Victoria's on the chat box. Sorry for my delay. Wondering about some of your presentations you've done in the past. Can you tell us more about yourself? Good question.
Sure. Let me start from the beginning. In the early, I was a music teacher, and I got tired of being controlled by the institution, and I stopped doing that, and I wrote musical shows for children. And so I wrote the music, I sold cassette tapes, that will date me, and traveled nationally presenting musical shows for kids at festivals, at events, and at the same time I was doing that, I was teaching teachers how to use music in their preschools or in their classes. And I did that for many years. And the way, so that's the way I started speaking. But frankly, it goes back before that. In junior high, I was already doing public speaking, in competitions and on stage with musicals, and then in college, again, a lot of performing for sure, musical performing as a pianist and singer. And it went to more of the public speaking stuff as I started being asked to speak. And when I wrote my first book, From Fear to Conscious Performing, From Fear to Freedom, then people were asking me to come and talk about how to overcome anxiety. And that ended up being a specialty for me as a therapist and music therapist, is how to work with anxiety. And because of that topic, it's, when you have a little niche, then people from different areas go, oh, well, we could really use that help with anxiety. And then they'll ask you to speak. And today, this is what I'm doing. I'm a public speaking coach. So I help people create and present top-notch presentations. And I even help you create a 30-second commercial that rocks. So, yeah. So I do a lot of coaching. Anybody else? Is that helpful?
Kathy's asking how, that was good, thank you. Can you hear me? Kathy's asking, how do you handle when people want you to do an interactive presentation for free? Basically, this happens with local organizations. Their point is that I could help spread the word about my practice and potentially get customers.
Absolutely true. And that's something you have to balance. If you're doing the presentation to get clients, it's just a marketing cost, and you are getting paid. So if you want to use speaking and interactive presentations for that, I say go for it. And interactive presentations are the best. I did the Internal Family Systems Conference, I think it was last year or 2 years ago maybe. And I kicked off the whole conference, this huge auditorium full of people, and I did body percussion. So we started with body percussion. I had one group doing one thing, and the middle group doing another rhythm, and then another group doing another rhythm. And then we started adding in vocal percussion, and we added in like just improv singing. Now, these were not musicians. It was the most amazing thing you could ever imagine. They were singing and doing all this body percussion, hundreds of people. It was the coolest thing. Anyway, it was a hit.
There's something in the chat box.
Okay.
That sounds awesome, says Kathy.
It was. It surprised me. I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, am I crazy?
Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to talk. Anybody? Since we have Sophie here.
As you're thinking about questions, it's like, what's your biggest challenge in speaking? What's your biggest challenge? And we can troubleshoot how to overcome those challenges. And we can troubleshoot it as a group.
So Victoria, I think when you went off, Sally did a whole history of how she got into presenting initially. So Victoria's saying, I love it and would like to transition to more speaking events. And how did you get to presenting initially?
You just have to do that one little thing. You've got to get out there and do one thing, and then the word starts to spread. And doing something for free in the beginning is fine. Just be careful not to get in a habit of that, because you become labeled as the person that does it for free. You don't want to have that label. No, she's the person that's really good, and she costs a minimum of $100 an hour. But again, it depends on your intention too. If your intention is to get out there and speak to get clients, then you might get more than $100 for that one presentation of clients. So that's another way to look at it. At the time that I was doing tons and tons of speaking, I'm getting back into doing more now, I was not seeing very many clients. In the beginning, I wasn't seeing clients at all. I mean, I spent years speaking and performing, and not as a music therapist, but as a speaker. Okay. Oh, come on, give me a hard one. Well, give me one that I really have that my mouth is going to be like, like, I don't know.
Victoria says, have been invited back for good fees, want to do more. Feel like I need to write a book or something to have credibility. Do I?
I didn't hear the first part of what you said. I heard it was about a book. Was there anything in the beginning?
She says she's been invited back for good fees and wants to do more. Feels like she needs to write a book or something to have credibility, does she?
Yes and no. I mean, it's nice to have something for sale, and all the while I was doing a lot of speaking when I was selling at the time CDs, I was selling music, I was selling books of the music with different types of activities along with it. The cool thing about writing a book these days, the book that I have on called Conscious Performing from Fear to Freedom is actually a hardcover. But today, the next book that I write, I'm going to just write it. I'm just going to have it on Amazon. I'm going to have it downloadable. The the cool thing about writing these days is it's so easy and we can do it a lot cheaper. It costs a lot of money to publish a book, and then you end up with 3 cartons of them, and sometimes they sell and sometimes they don't sell. It's a bit of a gamble. But if you do an ebook, then you can even give it for free. It shows your expertise. I recommend ebooks and I recommend blogging. And I've been a big blogger for a long time. That sounds funny. It's like I'm a big blogger. So blog, ebook, those are the 2 things I do. With the music, do music. Make a little CD. Just go into a studio and make a CD, an improv CD for kids if you're working for kids, Again, I had a CD. And again, that's cheaper. It's cheaper than a hardcover book. And it's a lot lighter to lug around as well. Okay.
Victoria, does that answer your question? You can talk. I'm going to unmute you. Can we hear you?
Is that me?
Yeah.
Victoria? Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hey,
Sorry.
Victoria.
Sorry about that earlier. Yeah, one of the reasons why I was so interested in hearing your questions and answers is that I really have enjoyed presentations when I've been invited, and I think I'm actually kind of good at it. So I think on my feet well, I make it interactive. I'm always coming up with fun ways to get a connection with my audience, and I guess that's the performer in me that enjoys that. And I would like to do that more often. And certainly I have a topic when somebody asks me to speak on something, but that is a very reactive or opportunistic way to develop that. And so I think, okay, if I want to speak more, do I need to have some huge level of expertise at this one thing that I can then go and share, and I've been such a generalist in music therapy. I'm passionate about the field, but I wouldn't say my expertise lies in one clinical area either.
What type of presentations have you done in the past? What was the topic?
Well, I teach a class at a college here. It's an introduction to music therapy for undergraduate students, and that's actually a 3-hour workshop with experientials, and that's been great. And I just sort of overview the whole field. And then I was invited to speak at a university club of psychologists and pharmacists and PsyDs, and told them about music therapy from a mental health perspective. And then I've presented at conference several times and have, dug into some clinical content, which I've enjoyed. And then I've done lots of things like drum circles for parents at the special needs clubs in the school districts, things like that, specifically to drum up some interest. Sorry for the pun. Drum up some interest for my private practice. And I've always enjoyed that as well. So I guess I need to just sort of soul search a little bit and find.
I didn't know you are niching.
Yeah.
But I think in a way, the fact is everything you're doing is kind of in line with music therapy, from the workshops to the university to the drumming for parents, the groups that you're doing. That's a small enough niche, I think.
Okay.
And it's interesting. I remember somebody asked me to do something on music therapy. Who was it? It was some, what was that? It was a group that they worked with the professionals in the community, and they got together and they had this leadership team, and they worked on that. And again, I wasn't a part of that. I was invited in every year for a number of years to do something musical for them, and it was very interactive. But the topics kind of changed. But the thing about it was, you could definitely just go with music therapy. Have all these different areas within that you can talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Pardon that interruption.
Yes, okay. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question on that?
Yeah. And like I said, I'm really passionate about our field.
Yeah,
and
I hear that.
I guess I'm wondering what else is out there? What else are people looking to hear about and talk about that ties into our expertise in behavior as well as our expertise in music? And it sounds like you have gone beyond, and maybe I should just need to be thinking about the other audiences. Maybe it's the music educators that want to learn about adaptive lessons, or something that would be interesting to them, or maybe it's the mental health professionals, how you can incorporate music into your practice as a psychotherapist, or something along those lines.
Yeah, and on all those categories that you've just mentioned, working with self-regulation through music would be a great topic that you could bring to all of them, from the mental health professionals to the schools. Like, if your kids are going crazy, here's the way to bring them back down with music. So you're giving them tools to self-regulate would be a good one. But the other one that comes to mind as I hear you talk is aging. I mean, think about it. We got the whole boomer generation coming in, and being able to present for the caregivers of aging people, or the people that are in the homes, for that matter. But I think really teaching the caregivers how to use music would be cool. You have tons of area to go for in just talking about music therapy.
Yeah.
It's a good topic.
Okay. I feel like I've taken a lot of your time. Thank you.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Otherwise, it's just me hanging out here talking to myself.
Another question here in the chat box from Kathy. Kathy wants to know, what was your most difficult speaking situation?
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is it wasn't exactly a speaking thing, but I was at a festival in Ohio, and I had tons of kids and parents, probably hundreds, and I was doing this interactive show with kids, and a homeless person walked in front of the stage just in inches away from the kids and fell and broke a bottle. And I jumped off the stage immediately and got between, kind of called somebody over. I said, "Get over here!" And I went in front of the person that had fallen, and I said, "Move back, everybody move back!" And everybody, I was like, "Whoa, wiggle, wiggle!" And so I'm trying to keep everybody calm, but I'm also trying to get them away from any of the glass. And just being able in that instant to take control. I mean, it was a little scary because I didn't know what was exactly going to happen. Anyway, that was difficult. I think, let's see, as far as adults working and actually speaking, trying to think of my most difficult one. Give me a minute on that one. You stumped me. You win the prize. Thinking about my most difficult speaking gig still. I keep coming up with ones that are things that happen. I mean, it's interesting. Sometimes things happen to you that it becomes difficult. I remember, again, working with Head Start program. So there's all these teachers and all these kids, and I'm on stage singing and dancing, and I'm realizing I'm not seeing out of one eye. And it's like, and it was kind of a weird thing, but and I'm fine now, but it was one of those things I didn't know what was happening to me. And so you kind of lose your control a little bit. And again, you've got a big audience. You can't exactly stop. And when you have a really difficult speaking group, the best thing to do is, if you notice, is to read the audience. So how are they difficult? Are they looking bored? Are they looking like they need to get up and move? The question becomes, what do they need from me? It's like, And I'll even ask that if there's like a little bit of a dip. It's like, I'm curious as to what you're thinking right now. What are your questions? So getting interactive is the best way to work through a difficult speaking gig. Yeah. Anybody else?
Well, you know, that was incredible, Sally. I learned a lot. And it sounds like you guys did too. I'm going to unmute everybody. I want to hear. Yes?
Yeah. Loved it.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
So I wish it would go on and on and on and on, and guess what? It could, because Sally is we could go meet Sally in person in San Francisco.
Come and see me, guys.
Yeah. She's going to do this workshop. Let me show it to you. It's you'll leave totally with a toolbox of speaking gems and have fun with us while you're doing it. It's going to be held at the it's right across the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco in Larkspur Landing, and it's at the Courtyard Marriott. And I have an offer for you guys. Huh?
I said, which is beautiful.
Yeah, tell us about it while I share my desktop.
Well, outside there's just beautiful flowers, and inside it's just gorgeous and great food, and the rooms are beautiful. You look right out the door. There's the ferry, so you're really close to the ocean or the bay.
Mhm.
Yep. It's cool. Gotta come.
And
we're going to have a lot of fun. You guys get to participate in this. You get to practice your speaking. You get to learn new ideas on how to connect and deliver a really dynamic presentation. In fact, Sally's going to show you how to create and deliver a dynamic presentation. Keep your audience engaged, hanging on to your every word. So, and that's important. When you get to the end of the presentation, you want to make sure they're wanting more. Experience the joy of being able to read your audience and confidently go off script. And today, I've gone off script. I had no idea what anybody was going to ask me. Talk about really going off script. And it's a little bit scary not to have a plan, but you've got to be able to kind of think on your feet, and I'm going to give you some ideas of how to do that. Experience the joy of being able to read your audience and confidently go off script. I said that one. Body language is huge. Now, you don't get much of that on a webinar, but in person, your body says 10 times more than your words say. So it's so important to know what you're really saying with what you're doing with your body. Timing, working with timing, rhythm, having the rhythm. So sometimes it's like if you ever watch a presentation where it just goes on and on and on, you just want to fall asleep. That's because the timing is off. You regulate it, and then you change up the time signature, and you move into a different gear. You keep it interesting. Learn how to do it right. Tips and tools for overcoming anxiety and finding confidence. We do a lot of work with the breath, working on opening and relaxing the body, working with the mind. And finally, we're going to be talking about how to grow your business through speaking. So that's going to be really expanded. And it's coming up soon, very interactive. You guys are going to be working. And we're going to have time for fun, too.
Yes. And today for you guys, till midnight tonight, if you register for this Create a Top-Notch presentation in a 30-second commercial that rocks, we'll buy you lunch at the Courtyard Marriott, which is like $25 a person, and you'll receive your own free copy of Sally's new book when it comes out. Plus, for being on the webinar, I'm going to give you a special discount code. So when you go into the CMTE online classes to register here, you'll click to add to cart, and right here, the promo code is Top Notch. all lowercase, top notch. And since I already did this before, it's gonna, no, I didn't apply. See what happens. Yoo-hoo! So it went down from $297 to $247. And even you have a choice here of making 3 payments of $84.80. So how do you get there? How do you register? So you can go to gmteonlineclasses.com, click on Take Our Classes, and then here's the live event. Just click on that, and it takes you through that whole loop I just took you through to where you get to register, okay? So if you want to ask me any questions, here's my email and phone number. And in fact, I'm going to unmute you guys so you can ask me anything now if you want to. Or Sally.
Thank you so much. This is great.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Okay, bye.